We have to get into All Elite Wrestling Double or Nothing, their flagship pay-per-view show here, and the obviously being done in front of no traditional wrestling fans. Overall thoughts on the show? I really was entertained by it. I have no issue with the paying the Huey and I split it, so I have no issue paying the 25 hard-earned American dollars to pay for AEW's pay-per-views and stuff like that. I really enjoyed the show overall. I have some, obviously, I didn't think it was perfect, but I think the main events, the title matches delivered in a big way overall. I would have maybe built the card a little bit differently, just right off the top. I think they probably, in my opinion, this is just one man's opinion, I think the TNT Championship match, if the AEW Championship is not going to be the main event, crowning this first ever champion for your TV partner should have been the main event. And I get that the Stadium Stampede match was this very unique deal, but it's pre-recorded. You could slot that in anywhere in the show, and it would have had the same impact. I think I would have rather seen something happening in the ring ending their show, and I would have gone with either Moxley and Brody Lee. But honestly, going into this, I would have put the culmination of this tournament and this new championship as the main event of the show. But overall thoughts, Baby Huey, on Double or Nothing?
Yeah, like you, I thought overall the show was very entertaining, and you and I were talking off the air. From a logic standpoint, some things did not shake out properly from like a logistic standpoint. We'll get into that as we go. But overall, a lot of fun. I think they did a great job of just showcasing their roster once again. And now, I mean, as we make our way, like the additions that they currently have made now, they have a deep roster now, and some big talent on the roster now as well. So, but overall, a little bit of something for everyone. I think last year probably had a little more better variety of this different styles of matches. This one, there's a little bit of repetition as far as just jumping ahead. The women's world title match and the men's title match. Back to back, very similar as far as fighting in the ring and then going all along the outside and then coming back in. So very similar structure of storytelling that they did.
Yeah, I think that is sort of a function of the empty arena stuff, is that you have to do something to sort of really bring the theatricality out when you don't have fans. And so I sort of looked at that as that's why you found that repetition. But I found a lot of creativity in this show as well.
And that's the thing, too, for AEW and WWE, kudos both of them in this weird, crazy time that we're living with the pandemic. When their backs are to the wall, they've been very creative in trying to, quote, deliver cinematic type matches and deliver something a little bit different to at least kind of break it up and not the same old repetition of just in the ring and obviously no one's around. So for them being creative and trying to deliver something a little bit outside of the box. So kudos to everyone, both promotions involved. But yeah, I mean, it was long too.
That is one thing. It did go a little long. I would have shaved some time off, maybe a couple of the matches. Right. I mean, just right off the top. And this is okay. Look, when you have Dr. Britt Baker have to sub out with an injury, with all due respect to Chris Statlander, who in our last full episode I was just singing the praises of as a rising star, I think unfortunately you got to, for timing and pacing and storytelling, you just got to bench that match. It sucks for Statlander, but I'm sorry, Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford with no build-up on the card makes no sense to me. The Dustin Rhodes and Shawn Spears stuff, that was... It was not my favorite thing. I love Dustin, but it was funny. I was watching that, and it made me think, like, I know Shawn Spears is in a featured spot, but he's not exactly being presented as a threat to be taken seriously, is he?
Yeah, it's just this is kind of thrown together last minute, last week's episode of him trying to make fun of him, the Shawn Spears news broadcast, and calling him out saying he's going to retire or he is retired, he's popping pills, all this just jabs at him. And he goes out there in the suit and he's like, oh, he's not here. Ring the bell. And then he does show up and, Dustin tries
to the surprise of no one.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Like, whenever in wrestling does no one ever show up? Like,
it would have been more compelling to me as a story if they do the 10 count and Sean Spears gets the chicken bleep win. And, because Dustin, honestly, maybe should have been selling that beatdown from Lance Archer anyway. And so you have Sean Spears continue to antagonize. Maybe on Dynamite this week, he calls out Dustin again, and in a rematch, wins again via forfeit countout. Have him continue to sort of build up his record that way until finally Dustin is healed, and then Sean Spears gets his ass whipped. But so that I could have done without necessarily on the show. But definitely Statlander. Look, the Dustin Rhodes and Sean Spears stuff was just a few minutes. Statlander and Penelope Ford was just a few minutes, but it would have helped the pacing a lot, in my opinion.
Because that could have easily cut off
15 minutes probably of time and everything.
Package, yeah.
I do want to say kudos to MJF and Jungle Boy, which were one of the really big standout matches in my opinion. I thought they had a hell of a match, and it was just a straight up wrestling match. And it was really, really well done by both of them. What did you think of the ladder match? And, we'll just get it out there. Obviously, if you're listening to this, I assume you've seen it or seen the spoilers, that the surprise entrant in the casino ladder match, which I don't know if it's going to be like the Money in the Bank, but it's this big. I like the visual of the poker chip. I maybe a little bit smaller, but Brian Cage making his AEW debut with Taz sort of as his second, be it his manager or whatever he's going to be. He opens up Cage's theme song with a take of off of Taz's famous Path of Rage in ECW. It's Who Can Stop the Path of Cage, Brian Cage with AEW. Your thoughts on Cage's debut and the ladder match?
I cannot wait for the match, whenever it happens, between Brian Cage and Kenny Omega in a battle of the...
I'll be rooting for Cage in that. And I love Kenny Omega, but Brian Cage is the Terminator. He is the Machine, and I just prefer that he would have that.
Okay, but for the actual match itself, Brian Cage, it was cool seeing him out there because it was rumored. So earlier this year, I guess his contract with Impact was up, and he dropped the title to Tessa Blanchard, and he's been gone ever since. Supposedly had some back injuries. He's been nursing those. But rumor was his contract was up, and he was probably going to go to AEW, and he definitely has history with the Young Bucks and a lot of those guys from their time in SoCal, PWG, and whatnot. So it kind of made sense. He wants to go work with his buddies. And so I was either thinking it was going to be him or maybe Pac, because Pac was on Dynamite this week as well with a little video package. So maybe him as returning. I was trying to think of someone else that could have joined. But like those are two that jumped out to me. But overall, the match... I enjoyed it, but I thought at times it got a little too chaotic, and a lot of bodies involved. Jimmy Havoc, Penelope Ford getting involved, all these different and some of the logic. Okay, obviously this is very similar to Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank, everyone starts at the same time. This match, they had the 2-minute countdown, and right out of the gates, you have Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian, who are, on a faction together, SCU, a tag team and whatnot. You would have, and right away, they both run out and grab ladders and come right back in. I was like, yeah, this is, because they said all 9 competitors don't have to be in the ring for someone to immediately start going for the poker chip. So when I saw these 2 guys on the same team, I was like, oh, yeah, they both should just grab the ladders, go right back in, and one of them should just help the other one up and grab it, and then at least the chip is in their tag team, in their family, and then they can figure out later who wants to go fight the title and whatnot. But they immediately stopped, threw the ladders back outside, and I was like, what? What are you doing, you idiot? You both are friends. You both can, get the chip right now. So that's why it did not make sense 2 members of SCU, 1 and 2, starting out the match. You should have had one start out and then one come out later in the night.
Yeah. I agree with that. I
you get what I'm saying? It's like they all should just started. Like the 2-minute countdown, it kind of didn't really make sense.
So I like the 2-minute countdown. I do. I think that's a nice little twist on it. But I don't like the SCU not even going for the chip right off the bat then kind of deal from a logic aspect. What I did like throughout the ladder match is that you had a lot of sort of, I'm alone in the ring, I'm going to make a mad dash for the chip kind of deal. I thought it went on a little long.
Yeah.
But I thought the spot with Darby Allin doing the skateboard off the
Oh
ladder,
my.
Darby Allin is
Oh my
such a
God.
star. Like
Yeah.
he is, really just continuing to show that he is a standout in AEW, and he has this that same Jeff Hardy Daredevil type charisma about him that people really love. So I really enjoyed it. I think obviously with Brian Cage making the big debut and winning it, that makes total sense. And again, as I said before, the match after that was MJF defeating Jungle Boy narrowly, but I thought that was a really fun back and forth, and I don't think Jungle Boy lost anything in defeat there.
Yeah, Jungle Boy MJF match, just MJF being more of just the a-hole, cocky prick in there, and Jungle Boy. I mean, Jungle Boy, he's gonna be a natural baby face for years to come. So I still think he has a little bit growing to do, but it's gonna be really interesting for someone like him, also who's a little bit smaller compared to all these other giants in the company, how he's gonna be able to stand out for years to come as well.
Yeah, I thought they both acquitted themselves very well. They're both super young. I really enjoyed that match. The TNT Championship match was next, with being presented by Iron Mike Tyson. Cody taking on Lance Archer with Jake Roberts. I loved pretty much everything about this, other than I could have done without the Arn. The Arn stuff with Cody just hasn't really hit on all cylinders for me yet. It hasn't been terrible, but there's just something that doesn't quite fit right about it so far. But I did really enjoy this, and I do think it should have been the main event. The TNT Championship, which they alluded to on commentary, is not finished yet, which I was really glad they said that, because when I first looked at it, I was like, that's it? It looks like something, a title that you can make on WWE 2K, and like not one of the good ones. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're going to be adding more to it, and I think the finished product will because it's got good bones. You see, like, there's a good outline, a good blueprint for what it could be. So when it's finished, I think it'll look something special. But with Cody defeating Lance Archer, this was another one. I don't think Lance lost anything in defeat. I thought they told a really good story, which is, again, why I thought it should have been the main event. And you have the coronation of this first ever TNT champion. It's the only time they'll ever be the first ever TNT champion. But I really enjoyed it, and I didn't think Lance Archer lost anything in losing to Cody.
Yeah, I mean, real quick before I forget, I mean, Lance Archer and Swole, they might have a match down the road. The constant little back and forth mouth talk outside the ring with Lance and her. That was pretty good. But yeah, the title itself, I was like, I like the big circular aspect of it. Apparently it's red because Tony Khan's a big fan of the NWA television title when it had the red strap for a period of time. That's why he kind of wants to mock that for a bit. And then apparently they're going to add some gold plates as well. It's like, okay, silver's cool, but like championships need gold on it. So I'm looking forward to how much gold they're going to add. And hopefully maybe, since they debuted an unfinished product, they can kind of read some of the criticisms online and kind of use that feedback to enhance it with more detail. Maybe they already had like one outline for it, but now they can like do another draft, and like something that they come up with in the near future could be really excellent for the title to look at.
Yeah.
But the match itself was great. I mean, Cody, obviously old school as far as the storytelling he does in the ring. My big thing was for you. What did you think of Mike Tyson's whole role in this match? I thought it was a tad underwhelming.
It was underwhelming. I wasn't expecting a ton from him, honestly. I just wasn't in terms of his first sort of involvement during this whole thing. I thought maybe that we would get I thought he was going to play into the finish, but by the time it was all said and done, it was what it was. He's going to be on Dynamite this week. I'm excited to see if he's going to do more in pro wrestling. He looked great, like physically. I liked Jake the Snake sort of cowering off. I think they could have presented that a touch better, where Jake just gets out of dodge really fast and really sells it. Because I mean it's Kid Dynamite, so it's the baddest man on the planet. Not gonna mess with him.
I was kind of hoping like they would actually show the snake, like actually bring it out and like, maybe at least just show it, just not just hold the bag. I mean, the bag could have been filled with anything. But I was just going to say with Tyson, I was hoping he was going to throw some sort of a punch in the match.
Yes, yeah.
Whether, I mean, obviously it makes sense probably for Lance just because he's younger and could take a punch from him. I mean, Jake is way too old and fragile now. I was really shocked. Well, did you catch Mike Tyson yawning real quick and they cut the camera?
I did not catch that.
Oh, you gotta look. There's probably a bunch of on Twitter, Instagram.
I thought most of his reactions were pretty good throughout.
Yeah, well, then when the ref threw out Arn Anderson, Tyson was like, "Yeah, get him out of here." It's like Arn's a babyface in this match.
Well,
like, what?
I don't think anyone would ever accuse Mike Tyson of being a babyface in his career. So, I just don't. I mean, maybe instead of a punt. Well, I guess we can't with social distancing. But what if Mike had bitten Lance Archer on the ear? That would have been something else. But overall, I guess I didn't like necessarily Arn getting involved and causing Lance to fall in the turnbuckle in that way. I would have rather seen any physicality sort of been similar to Arn and Tully with Arn and Jake this time.
Yeah.
But I thought the finish was good. Like I love the rolling crossroads. The double crossroads is very cool.
And yeah, I agree with you. But I just want to know what is on Arn Anderson's little paper, the laminate that he brings out. Like
plays, bro.
What kind of plays? Like, okay, if he throws a punch,
arm bar.
You done.
It's taken from Jericho's list of holds.
Yeah, but if he pins you, try to break at 2 at least. I mean, it's like.
Well, I think it's pretty well known that Arn Anderson tries to run the West Coast offense with any Cody match. So,
I was just gonna say I also enjoyed the parts where Cody DDT'd Archer in front of Jake. And then Archer did the spine buster in front of Arn. It's like, take that. So it's just very cool how AEW, they're bringing these veterans, the older guys in, and using them in some capacity, and at least bridging the old generation with the new generation. And for the younger fans watching, it's like these are all legends in our business. They, what they did is why we exist today. So we got to pay respect and tribute to them in some ways, and it's great getting them involved. So I think it's just cool for them coming out and like they're using their moves on each other, and like last week on Dynamite, like big what if Jake the Snake did take on Arn Anderson, how awesome that would have been. And so, but this match itself, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Cody, I'm so happy to see him win. Like 2 weeks ago, I was dead set like, oh, Lance Archer's gonna win, but then again, Cody. All these other big pay-per-views, he's lost. He is due for a win on a big pay-per-view. And because of the lineage with his dad and Turner broadcasting for decades, it kind of makes sense for him. And also, he becomes the face of maybe, AEW and the network. And on television, it's going to maybe kind of resembles like a television title, defended pretty regularly on TV. Cody is arguably the most over babyface in the company. It makes sense for him to win it, be the first one, and he's been very vocal. He cannot go after the world championship, so this is the next best option for him. So it just makes perfect. And Lance Archer, if anything, Lance Archer can now be that much more pissed off as a monster and maybe wants to just give Cody hell, like ruin his life as best as he can, like going after him now. He's pissed off. Or keep in mind, Darby Allin and Cody, they still have beef with each other. I mean, this could easily set up the two of them having a program, maybe for All Out in a few months. So, like, Cody has plenty of options because Cody, he'll go in a pay-per-view, take on someone, and after that, the storyline's done. You look at Chris Jericho, MJF, he moves on to the next person. So I'm excited to see where Cody, who his next opponent is going to be after this pay-per-view. He moves on and creates new storylines. So, Cody, I'm all happy for him to see win this.
We already touched on Statlander, Ford, and Rhodes and Spears, so let's get to the no DQ, no countout match for the AEW Women's World Championship. The champion Nyla Rhodes taking on Hikaru Shida, and obviously with the stuff that we talked about at the top of the show with Hana Kimura and everything playing large in the the life of Hikaru Shida and everything like that, and they made the title switch here, and I understand the heartstrings appeal of that. And I am no great fan of Nyla Rose necessarily in her in-ring work. However, I did think it was kind of a head-scratching booking decision to take the championship off of her.
Yeah.
as I talked about in our last full-length episode, that I thought that Chris Statlander was kind of being groomed to be sort of that monster versus monster, just a babyface version taking on a heel version for that collision to happen. I was very excited. So I thought this was kind of an odd booking call. What did you think?
Yeah, I'm with you because she just won it at the last pay-per-view, if I remember correctly. So it just, seems a little abrupt to take it off her. But, considering the landscape of pro wrestling this past week, it kind of it plays into it. It's a nice little bit of storytelling as far as Shida winning the title, considering the events that happened earlier this week. But the match itself, it was pretty badass. Like, for no DQ, I mean, they used the whole floor and the part of the seats, the whole setting around them to really just lay into each other. The big poker chips and, high spots and kicks all over the place. So, I mean, those two laid it out all there. So credit to them, respect to them for just beating each other's ass out there.
Yeah,
for
very hard work by both.
Yeah, exactly. So I really enjoyed the match, and Shida's really growing on to me, and she's what 12 and or I think 12-0 or 12-1 or something this year alone. So it's like she's been low key just like breaking out with this big winning streak going. So
listen, I thought Shida should have been the inaugural women's champion. I thought they made the wrong call with Rio, so I'm glad that they've sort of righted that wrong necessarily. But I do think that Nyla loses a lot of credibility as the native beast to have such what was supposedly this dominating run cut so short here.
Yeah.
And again, so I just thought that was kind of a head scratcher.
And I think. Listen, I'm sure to AEW and their credit in this first year of existence, because now it's been a full year since the first Double or Nothing, I think they do take into account stuff that's not working and try to course correct it as best they can. So you look at Brandy Rhodes and her weird story angle she was doing with Kong and stuff like that. So
little did we know that we would need somebody to cut our hair months later. So
I'm just saying that like. Okay, they saw that wasn't working. They dropped it. Maybe they saw with the Rio thing, it wasn't necessarily working or getting over with the crowd. So it's like maybe the vision that they had originally for the women's division, obviously they saw wasn't working. They're trying to course correct it, get in on Nyla Rose, off her. And now Shida has it. So the women's division has improving for 2020 so far. I will say that. And you saw some of the female wrestlers in attendance. It's unfortunate Britt Baker, as you mentioned, she is injured for looks like 6 to 8 weeks. It could have been a lot worse. A lot of people were speculating. But for her only be gone for 2 months, that's not too bad because she could still probably be on TV doing other segments just to remind people she's still there. But for the women's division overall, I think it's still heading in the right direction. I still see big things for them. I like this year. I think they really are doing a lot to improve it.
All right, that brings us to the AEW World Championship match. It was Jon Moxley defending against Mr. Brody Lee. I thought this was very good. I thought, it's one thing I'll give him credit for is it's very rare to see any match end with a sleeper hold, let alone your World Championship match. I thought it was a creative, fun finish. I think, again, both people looked great. I thought Brody Lee didn't really lose anything in defeat, which is, sort of the goal when you're going into this, because you have two characters that sort of need protection here, and I thought they took care of that very well. I enjoyed it a lot. I don't really enjoy the sort of like the Brody Lee and the like not liking people sneezing sort of jab at Vince. Like the less I just think that it's such low hanging fruit. I just think that you're better than that. Like be more creative than that. Create your own character. But overall, I really enjoyed this championship match, and I just continue to be impressed with the former Dean Ambrose and how he has gotten back to his Jon Moxley roots and then building off of that, his presentation, his charisma. It is not the same old every match with him like he got sort of into the routine in WWE, to be honest with you at times. So, hats off to him for that. I enjoyed it, though.
Yeah, and by the way, so was this a no DQ match as well, as far as them going outside and using...
I don't believe it. I don't think so. But, the referee it's at their discretion.
He just let it go. So, I did like seeing Brody Lee with the hard punching. I mean, obviously his name's Brody. He's a big fan of Bruiser Brody, and it was cool that on commentary they did acknowledge a Bruiser Brody. Tony Schiavone, thank you for that. But so it just, if he can bring that style to AEW, I'm all for that. Big monster, hard hitting dude. So him and Moxley, I mean, they have a long history. Obviously in WWE, Luke Harper and Dean Ambrose, and then I think even in CZW I read or heard. So they've worked a lot of matches together. So it's very cool to see them kind of keep working at this level. By one thing with the finish though, and this is just something in wrestling, they really give it up on refs. You know, when someone's in a sleeper hold, they lift the arm up and then let it fall down, lift it up again, fall down, and then they lift up a third time, and either they keep their arm in the air after the ref let go and they start hulking up as they say, or if it falls down for the third time, then you stop the match. This one, Brody Lee had his arm up and then it just dropped and the ref stopped it. So I was kind of hoping he was going to hold it up again.
That's directly a correlation to the popularity of MMA and UFC and how ref stoppages are done now. So it's just a different time. So when you see that somebody's not able to defend themselves and they're out, that's it. That's a wrap. So I think gone are the days of the 1-2 Hulk up arm lift. I think it's just you get one now, and I get why that is, because again, the popularity of UFC and just the knowledge of the fan base, it's just different. Back in the day, it was different then. So I get that. That brings us to the Stadium Stampede match. It was Matt Hardy and the Elite taking on the Inner Circle. This was, I will say, as advertised. It was as crazy as advertised. I enjoyed a great deal of this. Some of it I did not enjoy necessarily, and some of it I enjoyed and didn't enjoy almost right on top of one another. But I think there was a lot to love here if you're a fan of both these teams and sort of some of the more slapsticky things. I think it went on too long. I think there was too much of that. But overall, it was entertaining as all hell. I think I would have enjoyed it more if it wasn't the main event of the card.
Okay.
But the Elite and Matt Hardy did prevail here, which I think was the right booking call. Also, I have to say, for the MVP, the MVP of a lot of this stuff between the Inner Circle and the Elite has to go to Sammy Guevara. He has really upped his game, I feel like, in terms of his theatrical selling and everything like that. Sammy Guevara running away is becoming a sort of a pretty cool wrestling trope that they are doing. So I loved Adam Page coming out on the horse. I hated Adam Page being completely lost on the horse and taking himself out of the it just was. You make him look like a badass, and then he just looks like a total geek. That I won't get. And Adam Page, I think, is just such a star. But I liked a lot of what they did. What did you think?
Well, I'm just saying with the horse thing, it's like, okay, if you chase off Sammy Guevara into the stadium in the underground, if you're on the horse, you might just go back and help the rest of your team. So it's 5-on-4. Like, okay, let that guy be a chicken and run off. Let's go ahead 5-on-4. Like, you can outnumber them, turn back around. But yeah, the fact he was gone for a period of time, just slowly tiptoeing with the horse down the hall. It's like, come on, man. But yeah, I the entrance I enjoy, both of them coming out, like the players and visitors sections, like from a Jaguars game, and it was cool. Inner Circle with their team uniforms. I was kind of anticipating the Elite were gonna have their own uniforms, but they didn't. So that's cool. It just shows Inner Circle more tight in that sense.
I loved the Jaguars cheerleaders being there too.
Yes!
I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, and then I enjoyed as far as like, okay, they all kind of scrambled, run together. Are duking it all out outside the ring, around the ring. The ring wasn't really used that much. And then it kind of, everyone after that broke off, and then you got like different segments of people around the stadium using it. As I said last week, I think what they did here was really good. It's like using the whole stadium to their advantage. So it's like we saw, Adam Page chase off Sammy Guevara. Chris Jericho and the Young Bucks, trying to go at each other and, Jericho challenged Aubrey at the ref Aubrey, whatever her name is, for a play review, and they go in the blue tent, and then even Matt Jackson was, I think, with Guevara, doing the we got suplex across the whole 100
I
yards.
hated that.
I mean, it was just like such a up, like the cuts. It was like he was on the 50-yard line, and the third, like it was so obvious they were not doing the full.
And if you're gonna do that, and you don't give me a Berman, he could go all the way. What are we even doing here? Like, well, if you don't give me a Chris Berman on that, what are we doing?
Well, maybe he has the copyrights like Michael Buffer has.
Well, then we're going to be in trouble, friendo.
But then he spiked his head at the end too. I enjoyed that. But like the other MVP I was going to say is Matt Hardy, and him and Kenny Omega taking on formerly known as LAX up at the Santana Ortiz up at like the second level. Like they take out Kenny Omega with some salt, and he's like gone, and it's just Matt Hardy versus the two of them, and takes them into the pool. And that whole pool segment, like I texted you beforehand, like I think you were gonna love that whole segment. Did you enjoy it?
So the pool segment, I popped big time for the new version of the Matt Facts, the Matter of Facts.
Yes.
I thought, like, in a vacuum, it was a great wink and nod to Matt Hardy fans in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of hilarity to be had there. As a wrestling fan, I don't know if it was necessarily the best thing in the world on a few different levels, because you have Santana Ortiz straight up trying to murder Matt Hardy, and you have him doing a dead man's float in there. I just thought that was a questionable visual. I thought while again very funny and very entertaining, and look, I live for the Matt Facts. It was a little out of place sort of in this match, because it's not just in the sort of broken Matt Hardy world of things. This was the Elite and the Inner Circle, like some top tier serious stuff going on, between them. Look, for me as a Matt Hardy fan, of course, I enjoyed it.
I was just going to say, so real quick, going back to our interview with Matt Hardy, you asked him about using social media to play into your gimmick, and he was one of the first people to do that. And so once again, on Twitter yesterday, he says, when I learned there were pools in the stadium, I knew stocking them with the magical waters of the Lake of Reincarnation would be ... wonderful. So it's for him, he's using Twitter to kind of explain his actions. So for anyone who didn't know what led off this whole magical transformation in the pool, that was it. So just cool, Matt using Twitter just to kind of explain that. But going from like the classic Matt to the big money Matt look. So I geeked out for that.
I popped big time for the Matter of Facts. As I discussed after our interview with Matt, I loved version 1 Matt Hardy. So to see that was, it was a cool little love letter to people who have followed his career so intently. It was nice.
Yeah, so I mean, he's trying to, it looks like if you follow him on Twitter, he's trying to kind of explain each form of him. So follow him on Twitter at my Hardy brand, the kind of explanation of all that. But yeah, I was like, where's Kenny Omega during this whole time? Like his partner or his buddy is getting beaten up. Like, come on, salt to the eyes is not that bad. Get back in there and help him. But when Matt threw, I think it was Santana into the ice machine and says for your inflammation. Like
Matt's creativity, Matt's comedic timing are still underrated. I still will laugh to myself when I think about the original deletion stuff with when Brother Nero saves him, and he just goes, Brother Nero, that was unselfish. I don't know, it's such a simple thing, but it always makes me just chuckle to myself. So yeah, he's got such a brilliant, insane mind.
Yeah, and then like the whole bar fight with Jake Hager and Hangman Page, it really felt like something from a movie, like Roadhouse or something like that. I was like, he drag him across the bar table, and just the two of them talking, like, are we gonna drink or are we gonna fight? And just bam, bam. Like I love that. Like just the energy there was really cool. And then Kenny Omega comes in. They take him out, and then they have a shot of whiskey and a glass of milk together. So, like, that was all cool. So, like I said, it was cool how it was like broken up into segments where each members are fighting each other in different parts of the stadium. And let me ask you this, from the sake of like continuity, do you think all this stuff was happening around the same time, more or less?
I don't know. I would imagine relatively. Who knows how many times they had to retake something or what have you. But I think overall though they did a good job. I think they could have shortened it quite a bit. I would have I would have just taken some of it out, and then you have some stuff left over if you do this kind of match again. Some things that you can do instead of just throwing it all in there. You could have shaved some stuff off and then have some ideas for next time. Because I don't think this is the last time that we're going to see a Stadium Stampede match. So
true. Yeah, I think Tony Khan has said like he enjoyed it and wanted to do more of it. And then real quick, one question. Do you think this is the blow off between the two of them, or we're still going to get blood and guts at some point down the road? And then two, just what'd you think of the finish itself? Just Sammy Guevara taking a one-wing angel from Kenny Omega off the balcony up there. That was awesome.
It was good. I mean, it was very crash patty, which I understand because I don't want anybody to get hurt. But I think I would have almost preferred them to just finish Guevara with another golf cart rundown. But
they did chase him on the field. That was cool.
Yeah, it was, and I think it was a good finish. I think the right team won. I don't know if this continues on or they go their separate ways or not. But I think a lot of that is going to depend on when things can get more back to normal.
Yeah.
If they revisit this or not. But overall, warts and all, I know like matches like these are very polarizing, and I am sort of an odd duck in that I see the merits of both the very old school and the new school kind of stuff. But there are a lot of traditionalists that probably hated this match, and then there's a lot of people that are younger and that probably think this is like the greatest match AEW's ever done. I'm in the middle. I appreciate it for what it was. I was very entertained by it. I wouldn't want to see it become the norm necessarily because, look, I get all bent out of shape when movies about guys that throw shields that come back to them and people wearing flying suits of armor aren't taken as seriously as they should be. So I'm maybe not the right guy to ask about it, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I do think my highlight was the Matt Fact moment. That just made me so happy, especially just coming on the heels of having talked to him and then sort of reminiscing about it and how much I liked it at the time. That was very cool. But they did a good job entertaining us all who, shelter in place, this pandemic, they put a smile on a lot of people's faces, in my opinion. And I think what I will say, it was worth the money.
Yes.
And so that is my main takeaway from Double or Nothing.
And the other thing too, Jimbo, I think it's safe to say we are good luck charms. In 2020, we talked to Drew McIntyre twice. He won the Royal Rumble and he won at WrestleMania to become the new WWE champion. We talked to Matt Hardy. Him and his team win the Stadium Stampede. We're good luck charms. So I think if anything on this 100th episode, we need to remind people, you come on our show, good things happen to you. Okay? I'm just saying, like for everyone out there, keep in mind, we are good luck charms. We pay it forward. So, hey, that's why you need to be part of this show in some capacity. We spread the wealth around, man.
Well, I'll let you put us over. I won't go that far. I do appreciate everyone that's come on, and it's been 100 great episodes. And like you, all kidding aside, I've had a blast doing them, and I'm really proud of the work that we have done. That is a perfect place to end this week's episode, though. For Baby Huey, I'm Bimbo Jimbo. We'll catch you in the next 100. And remember, if you're not in the Kliq, see ya. And I wouldn't want to be ya.